my mom said around 7 weeks old, she could tell that like my hands and feet looked like they were burning. And so she took me to a specialist at that point in time. And I was 4 when they diagnosed me in Vanderbilt with that pityriasis rubra and that came along with a whole bunch of other disorders that at least people can pronounce. So juvenile arthritis and then rheumatoid arthritis. And then y'all would know they thought I had the arthritis judging by my x-rays, but my blood work came back that it wasn't like where I was just gonna like eventually not be able to use my hands and joints and stuff. Anyway, so obviously y'all know, but most people don't. When you have a rare disorder, there's absolutely nothing approved for it. So when they started with the pre-authorizations, that was a joke. So I got Remicade for having arthritis or Crohn's, I can't remember. And you know, that's been the only blessing about it is most of those conditions, the autoimmune stuff, you know, a lot of the arthritis medicines treat plaque psoriasis or, you know, help improve people's and stuff. She was practicing my learning underneath my main dermatologist that I'd known since I was 12. And I'd already had kids at that point in time, and they clearly had it. And I'm the only person in the United States that's passed it on to all of my children. Oh, it's very wild. Yeah, Yale's had our DNA since 2017, and they do think that maybe that's not what we have. On paper, I have a lot of disorders.
Okay, well, great. So that's leads you to treatment, as you well know. But
so I spent a lot of time in and out of the hospital when I was a kid back in the late 80s and 90s. And they're really all they did at that time was like, here, take some Accutane. And it just makes your skin worse. Like, I mean, it dries your skin out once it builds up. So then I went on methotrexate and that helped for a while. I mean, I was never totally clear or whatever. And then I when I got pregnant, I was totally clear. I was told, I did some genetic testing. I was told that I would not pass it on. And the twins know this. I didn't really want to have kids, but their dad talked me into it. And whoa, you know.
So it was it was on the 11th.
Yes,
the twins' birthdays. Tell them I said happy birthday.
I will. So that was in 2007. I got extremely sick, and I went into the hospital in Augusta, Georgia, is not far from where we were living at the time in South Carolina. It's on state line. And even so, you won't know Claudia, but I was in the hospital with the drummer, Travis Barker from Blink-182. He had a plane crash several hours away, and they transported him there. So we spent 3 months in the hospital together. But anyway, so at some point in time in September, they told my family to take the boys, to bring them to see me one more time, and then to go home and plan my funeral. And they did so. But me being stubborn, I was like, this is not the way I'm going out. And so I don't know. I slowly started getting better. They started taking things out, like my gallbladder, just randomly, like, okay, she's going to die. We got to figure something out. And anyway, so it was about a year of recovery just on, you know, I went on Remicade, I think at that point in time, and it helped for like 4 years, and then it just quit all of a sudden. So I started an injection, and for 15 years, it was great. I mean, no one knew. Like, I moved into my house 7 years ago, and I would say, you know, how sick I had been, and people would look at me like I was a hypochondriac and I was insane. So as the twins condition progressed, I was able to get them after, you know, you guys know how hard it was. I mean, it was denied because of their age. It was denied because it was blah, 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 blah. But anyway, so they were on it for 10 years. And then I have a 12-year-old that got put on it last year. So we were having our kitchen party where we inject ourselves together for the first time, thinking, yay, now we can all just pretend like it's no big deal. Because, you know, I missed all of middle school, and that's what I was worried about my daughter. I was like, you know, if I don't get this medicine for her. And so we've had the same insurance for 20 years. I mean,
copay accumulators are literally my demise. I like just recently found out about them, but we've been getting them constantly, and it's just sickening what they do. It's like employers sign up for it though, thinking that it's going to make
But
their policy more affordable, and
But
it's
it's
really
not.
just not covering any specialty meds.
Well,
no,
so tell us about like your coverage, your healthcare coverage for your family is through your
it's,
employer or your husband's?
so
Mhm.
we're friends, we get along and it's fine. But yeah, it's Blue Cross Blue Shield through New Jersey. And like I said, he, um,
Mhm.
and all that. And, he makes great money and they have, that's a whole nother, thing like, oh, we've got great benefits and blah, blah, blah. Our vision and our dental benefits are phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. You couldn't ask for anything better. And, so, and then I'm fully disabled. And but when I wasn't married, that was what was kind of funny is they gave me full disability due to my condition. I applied when I was in the hospital, or the doctors did, and helped me get it. And then they wouldn't cover the medication because they said it was cosmetic.
Oh my God. Well, are you comfortable telling us what medicine you want to be on?
Well, I mean, Stelara is what helps us the best. And
It
I'm
is
a
hard. It's
fun,
hard.
I'm a fun person when I'm not sick and I can get my medicine.
Right. Well, you're delightful and bubbly and we do hard things. Okay. And you've done hard things. You will continue to do hard things. And if you want to get something done, you ask a busy person to do it.
Yep.
And the other thing is we're not crazy on the same day.
No,
So
no. Yeah.
there is that. So, okay, so back to the insurance issue. Do you think it's your Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, or do you think it's the employer that wrote this copay accumulator language in there?
I don't know. I haven't been able to dig that far. I do know Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, which is the state I live in, is 10 times worse than Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. I've had people when I've called doctors and they're like, "Oh, we don't take Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina." And I was like, "Oh, we might be a resident. And so I mean, I don't feel like it, especially with the and that was a good question. I've never even thought about that. Thank you.
So
Would
there's always ways around every little thing, and there's always exceptions to every rule. I spend 95% of my day in
Yeah.
exceptions.
I kind of want to know what she talked about with the step therapy, because that's
Okay.
something you were really big into
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You testify about step
Absolutely.
therapy?
I've testified about step therapy. And when I did it in Missouri, I took a patient with me and the patient and I stood up and gave this super compelling testimony about how rheumatology patients are never one size fits all. They're not even one size fits most. And step therapy is nothing but a profit driven situation for super medically complex patients. And then 10 lobbyists filed in to speak exactly against what I said and what my patient said. And that is so unnerving and so disheartening to me. And I'm thinking, why in the hell did I just take an entire day off work to drive to the capital of Missouri, do all this stuff, haul this disabled patient out of her house with a cane to walk up there to only have these hired guns negate everything we just said? Like, it's so jacked up.
Well, I think that's why we got so much attention in DC because and I want to get across to people that when you live in your state, you don't actually need to go find that representative. Find their aide, like their staffer. I mean, it would blow their mind. Like those, especially the ones in DC. They had just gotten there, they were settled in, they're working all these hours, making pennies. And then we walk in and they're like, wait a minute. So you can get this medicine and I can see this photo. And that's one thing that if I have to have this disorder, it's nice to be able to, it's visual because I have some friends that have rare disorders that are not visible. I got a friend
Mhm.
that got rare vomit cycling disorder or something. And she goes to the doctor and they think she's crazy. So she has to fly from here to Rochester to the Mayo Clinic there because no one's ever heard of it. But with mine, at least it's visible. So, we would walk in and we're like, oh, hey, here, this is what my mom looks like. And she's taken methotrexate, Remicade, Enbrel, Humira, all those. And now the insurance company's forcing my kids to take it knowing I failed it. They're my children, but now they've got to fail it to get to where they can get some peace and go back to school. I mean, Nathan missed the first 2 months of fourth grade because we were fighting. And that was, you know, he was the first child that went on medication after me. So, but by the time his twin needed it, Joey, I knew what to do. I knew that, you know, we would be buddies with the drug rep and I would fill the medicines that, you know, he was going to fail, and I'd take him in and get the blood work every 6 to 8 weeks that he needed to get done. And that's another thing with these biological drugs that have given us freedom. You know, we get a TB test done once a year. We get lab work done once a year. We should take our injection at home and we go do whatever we want to do. I mean, both of them were able to wrestle in high school, and that's a very intense sport. I mean, it's even harder than football. And I wouldn't have been able to do that because there was no medications available for me back, you know, in the 90s.
Sure.
So, and I'm not asking, you know, when I go Wednesday, I'm not asking anybody from the state of South Carolina to like feel pity on me, because no, it's not going to benefit them. We're such a, there's 9,000 people worldwide that have what I have. Okay. We're not, there's 5 million people in South Carolina. So I know it doesn't benefit anybody financially to help us out, but we also do have disorders that other people have that are common. And it's just like, just ban the copay accumulator and I'll pay the $5 and leave you alone and go on about your business. I had a researcher I met in DC one year when we were at one of the summits, and he was so nice. And then I met him the following year, and I was supposed to testify to Congress in DC the year COVID shut everything down. And so he contacted me and he said, hey, and I know he didn't mean it this way, or researchers are a little different. Anyway, but he was like, if you come off all of your meds for 6 months and there's a new drug out, and I tried it later on down the road, and he said, and let us do a study on you and use all your pictures and everything, I will ensure that you and your kids get medicine for the rest of your life. And I was like, do you have any idea what I will look like in 13 weeks when I don't have any medication? And they offered to put me in the hospital in Scottsdale, Arizona, in the Mayo Clinic, and manage my pain in the hospital for 6 months if it got that bad, so that I could be without medication for that long, so that their clinical trial would count. And I mean, I contemplated it, honest did. I mean, but the kids were small. I would probably do it right now because the kids are older. But I mean, they were old enough to voice their opinion. They're like, that's a good question. I really don't think it's the employer. I mean, like I said,
So a couple things. I have a good friend, a speaking partner that I've done national level advocacy talks with, and she is like a master at reading plan documents.
It's wild.
I heard you talk about her. Yeah.
Yes. So if you can get your hands on the plan document, which you can, it's like 100-page document. Don't let them just give you the 2-page cover sheet. You email that to us. We will have her pick through it. There might be a loophole in there about the copay accumulator.
And this woman understands things in the insurance, like verbiage, that I'm like,
right. She's masterful.
Nilsa, we love you. Yes. I feel like we should give her a shout out.
Yes. Nilsa from Wisconsin.
It's just called the plan document.
The plan document is about 100 pages. The plan document for the employers, then we'll be able to determine who is calling the shots here, if it's Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey or if it's the employer. And from there, we can help you go a different direction. Because a copay accumulator, there's usually a way to get around it once we figure out who's in charge of it. Sometimes it's even the damn broker who wrote the plan.
Right.
So, yeah. And you've got a compelling story. You're winning. And I know it doesn't always feel like you are, but you are carrying the load for your whole family. And